Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Fiery Talks, a live talk show that delves into the personal and professional lives of accomplished women leaders. This show features leaders who have not only blazed paths for themselves, but are also helping other women on their professional journeys. In today's episode, we have Prameela Kalive, Chief Operating Officer of Zenzar Technologies. She has over 3 decades of industry experience across all key enterprise functions: technology management, software delivery and operations, sales and marketing, strategy, and human resource management. Without further ado, let's invite today's guest onto the platform. Hi, Prameela. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Uma. Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Thank you. So, before we get into the technical questions, we'd like to get a peek into your personal life, your hobbies, what inspires you, and so on. So, we have a rapid fire round for you. Are you ready?
Yes, Uma. Let's go.
Okay, let's go. So, what's the first thing you did with the first salary that you earned?
Yeah, it was princely 3,600 rupees when I remember. And this was way back in 1987. Maybe many people on the show would not have been born then. I remember, but I was very proud about it. It was my money and my salary. So I had given it to my grandparents because I always grew up with them. And to me, they were the ones who were truly proud of where I got in life. So I had given it to them.
That is so sweet. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. What is the best thing that happened to you in 2022 so far?
Okay, 2020 so far, I think I really discovered the joy of fitness, and I'm
Mhm.
training to be a runner. So I think running is my new passion I have discovered in this year. It's a time that I'm with myself. So
Oh, very
that's
interesting.
the best thing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. The next one. What do you Google the most?
I Google terms that I hear for the first time that I am not aware of, and that happens quite often. So when I'm in a conversation, it's technical terms, phrases. That's one I think. The other thing I Google a lot is quotes. I love quotes. I find them powerful ways to communicate and interact. So I
Mhm.
think these are two things you will see me often Googling.
Oh, very nice. Good to hear that. What is the next question? Complete the sentence. Pramila does what she does because.
Because she loves life and she wants to make every experience, every action, every decision, every day count. So I try to fit in a lot into my life, and that's just because I just love life.
Oh, that's such a positive way to look at it. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go to the next one. What is more difficult for you, scuba diving, bungee jumping, or skydiving? Have you tried any of these?
Yes, having done all three of them,
Oh,
uh,
lovely.
to me the most difficult is scuba diving,
Hmm.
because I am trying to work through my fear of water from a drowning experience I had several years back in the Atlantic. And to
Oh,
me,
okay.
the only way out of a fear is right through it. So scuba
Mhm.
is something difficult, but I keep doing that more and more. By the
Mhm.
scary one is bungee, but scuba
Mhm.
it will be in terms of the most difficult one for me.
Okay, and that's such a lovely message. The only way out of any fear is right through it. Thanks for sharing that. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to the next one. A book which you never get bored of.
Uh, I'm not an avid reader. It's over the last few years I picked it up, but Shantaram is a book that I really hold very close to my heart,
Mhm.
by Gregory David Roberts, because to me it is an outsider looking at India through a different lens. It
Mhm.
made me fall in love with the country, fall in love with the Indian culture and the simplicity of us all over again. So it's my favorite book.
Okay, that's amazing. And a great message for everyone watching as we approach the 75th year of Indian independence. I think this is a book that everyone should check out. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one. Where will we find you on a Saturday morning?
These days, you will find me on my long run in the morning because Saturday is my long run. So you'll see me with my music and
Mhm.
on the track. I've been running even in the rain, so that's where you'll find me on any Saturday morning.
Okay, very nice. Okay. The next one. What are three questions that you get asked quite a lot?
Okay, one question I'm asked the most is, you were a missile scientist working with Dr.
Mhm.
Kalam and doing all these, exotic projects like Agni Akash. So why did you leave that? It's a question
Mhm.
that I often get.
In fact,
The
we have
second
that one coming for you today too. So,
Okay. Yeah. And the second question people ask me is, where do you draw your, energy from? So
Mhm.
my teams call me the Dura cell because I can keep going from morning till night with the same energy.
Mhm.
So they say, where does it come from? I
Mhm.
think the third question off late people ask me is, do you ever see yourself slowing down? So
Okay.
these are things that I often, do get asked.
Okay, very nice. And I think it shows the amount of energy and positivity you exude. I'm sure people would be wondering as to where you get that energy from. Thanks for sharing that. I think we have the last question coming up. What is your favorite quote? Since you said you are quite interested in quotes.
It's a code I believe in and I live by. It is that be yourself, the world will adjust.
Okay, that's a very nice one. Authenticity is so very important because there's, I mean, irrespective of how many people are there in the world, there's only one of each one of us. So that's a great one. Thank you for sharing. So that brings us to the end of the rapid fire round. Now we move on to the slightly serious stuff. So the first question is in fact about your early career, Prameela, because you have a very fascinating professional journey. So can you tell us how a missile scientist with the DRDO decided to start her career in the corporate world? So the transition that you made, what made you leave that particular profession to get onto this one?
Yeah, like I said, it's a question that I'm often asked. And I go back to an analogy that I believe in, is this whole the fish and the pond story. So
Mm-hmm,
it's a choice in life that you want to be a small fish in a big pond or you want to be a big fish in a small pond.
mm-hmm,
To me, DRDO, I mean, I've been 10 years as a missile scientist working on really important programs, but I felt it was too big a pond for me to make a difference.
mm-hmm,
And as a person, I've always been trying to connect what I do with a purpose or with an impact where I can make a
mm-hmm,
difference. So in these large multi-year missile programs, I was not clear that what is it that Prameela is really able to influence and
okay.
impact.
Mm-hmm,
So I said I have to move, and in a way, Dr. Kalam had an influence on my decision because in the last few years, as a missile
mm-hmm,
scientist, worked with him very closely and a few other scientists, where he created something called a Society for Biomedical Technology. He
mm-hmm,
believed that we've all been blessed with intelligence and technology, but we should also
mm-hmm.
use it not for creating destructive,
Right.
systems,
Mm-hmm,
but also for something that will help the society. So we try to take a lot of defense technologies and map them to medical devices. In fact, I was working on a
mm-hmm,
pacemaker project that we were trying to indigenously develop as
mm-hmm,
part of the DRDO. And after that, for me, I think that changed my outlook to life to say you have to find something where you are truly able to make a difference. So that's when I shifted from being a small fish in a big pond to find what I said is a fish in a growing pond where I
mm-hmm,
have the ability to make a difference and I can still deliver impact. I think that's the reason why I moved from DRDO. But before I entered the corporate world, for a couple of years, I was also an entrepreneur, and there were two startups that I started and did. So I picked a very, very small pond coming from a big pond. And
okay.
then again, like I said, sometimes you're not ready for that challenge. And after 2.5 years, I realized I need to change the pond again, and that's when
Mhm.
Zenzar happened to me, and rest is history, of course.
Okay, that's a very interesting story, Pramila. Thanks for sharing. So, moving on, after your early start with Zensar, you became an AVP in 2004, a VP in 2006, and then a senior VP in 2010. In one of your interviews, you mentioned there is never going to be a role that is perfect for you. You just have to pick a role, work at it, and make it perfect for yourself. So, how did you make roles perfect for you? And do you have any tips for all of us here?
Yeah, in fact, that's a line I picked up from Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg's book, and I truly believe a lot of things that she said I could relate to them, and it's something I've
Mhm,
experienced both in my personal professional career. And that is true because from my own experience, like you just mentioned, I've been through multiple roles in Zensar, going from all the way from technology to business to strategy
Mm-hmm.
to sales and everything else. And so each time I was never ready for the role, in the sense I was never the best qualified person in terms of certifications or
Mm-hmm.
academic qualification to head strategy or HR. But these are choices that I made, and I had to go through that and move again when I realized, I'm not reinventing myself. I need to go and
Mm-hmm.
find a new challenge that will push me to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And through all these roles, like I said, I often inherited teams who knew much more than me functionally. So my teams were
Mm-hmm.
experts. A few things that have helped me when I say take a role and make it fit for you. One is to be okay with not knowing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as leaders, sometimes we get trapped in this, and I'm the leader, I have to have answers to every question that my team may have. I have to be
Mm-hmm.
the expert. I think I have learned it's completely okay to say I do not know. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely okay to be vulnerable with your team and tell your team, hey, this is something I want to learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
uh, that is, I think, one thing that's helped me through all my roles.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is, of course, is the willingness to unlearn what you've learned
Mm-hmm.
in the previous roles and reset and reboot and start learning in a different way. Through roles, as you go up, your learning way of learning, way of picking something is going to be
Mm-hmm.
very, very different. So I guess that's the second one. The
Mm-hmm.
third one, which again from experience, is let the world, let the organization, let your peers help you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not getting caught in a trap that I have to be this super person, I have to do everything
Mm-hmm.
myself. There are 20 balls in the air, I can't let any ball drop,
Mm-hmm.
is one way of life. My view is I've always reached out to peers, my teams, organizations, saying, this is what I want to do, I need your help. So letting others in, allowing them to help you, is the third one, I would say. So I would just call
Mm-hmm.
out, like I said, is it's okay not to know, okay to be vulnerable. It
Mm-hmm.
is willingness to unlearn and
Mm-hmm.
relearn. And the third is let the people around you help you.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, Prameela. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm just looking at the messages. We have people joining in from South Africa, from Indonesia. That's really interesting. So lovely to have all of you here. And we have a lot of interesting questions coming up for Prameela going forward, too. So the next question for you is, let's say we divide a person's professional career into three parts. The early career, which is the first, let's say 6, 7 years. Mid career, which is 7 years to around 14 years, and then advanced career, which starts around 15-year mark. So, what new skills, attitudes, competencies should one acquire as they move from one career level to the other?
Interesting question, Uma. So I would believe, that's my philosophy, is that when we start a career, we are all starry-eyed. We think we picked a dream job, a dream organization, and we start life. And I would
Mm-hmm.
always tell this to myself and to men and women around me, saying that allow yourself to experience different things, because we may start off saying I got educated in this stream, so this is what I want to end up being 20, 30
Mm-hmm.
years. We do not know, it's very early. Many of us don't even make our education choices, somebody else makes it for us and we
Yeah.
live those choices.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first stage of your life, just open your mind, see as many roles as you can get, fill your
Mm-hmm.
life with different experiences. That will help you discover what is it that's your calling, what is it that really you think you enjoy doing. Right, every morning you come excited to work. It
Mm-hmm.
won't happen if you just stay in one role. So I would always tell youngsters, be hungry first of all
Mm-hmm.
for filling your plate with multiple things. Raise
Mm-hmm.
your hand and say, hey, I'm not challenged enough, I am not pushed enough, I want to do multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, give you 100%, fill your plate with multiple experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and do many things. I think the mid part of the career is where you begin to realize that that's the intersection between, you're
Mm-hmm.
doing something good, you're able to deliver an impact, but that's where your mojo is. You love doing it. Many
Mm-hmm.
of us discover that you may start off, I mean, I started my life as an engineer, but I know
Mm-hmm.
that now technology is not my calling. So I will never be
Mm-hmm.
this technology CEO, but I love to integrate people and process and business and impact,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some people discover that I'm a great people leader. Some others say I'm a domain person. I love customers. I love strategy. So we will figure it out. So I think the
Right.
middle part be where you discover what that core strength of yours is, and
Mm-hmm.
then begin to choose your roles carefully where it allows you to play to your own strength.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as leaders, and I'm sure I'm talking to many women leaders here, we should begin to think about what is your brand,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is that identity? If somebody said, okay, I know Pramila, what will they say? What do I want to be known for?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where authenticity. I want to be known for what I truly am and what I enjoy being, right? I can't
Mm-hmm.
create an artificial brand. You have to live your brand.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
worrying about what's my brand and my behavior, my choices, what I do, is there an alignment between what I and my brand? Many of us think talking about your brand is bad, but I've always said no. I think you
Mm-hmm.
have to first understand how does the world, how does the organization experience you? Is that the
Mm-hmm.
real you? So
Mm-hmm.
thinking about your brand is important.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the middle phase. I think the last phase is the story of what I say is legitimacy versus legacy. And this is something I picked from one of my mentors, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan. And I always, thank him for that, because he said, you spend maybe 20, 25 years of your life chasing, legitimacy. You want to prove to the world, you want to prove to the organization, to everybody else that you're good at this and you earned your stripes.
Mm-hmm.
A time will come, it may come at different times for all of us in our life, where you want to stop and say, I don't have to prove anything to anybody else, but
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about what will I leave behind when I hang my
Mm-hmm.
boots, when I sign off. So
True.
the focus on legacy is where all of us need to think. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the phase where we should, I think, strongly, I think about connecting what I'm doing to some larger purpose, which is
Mm-hmm.
beyond my balanced business scorecard and beyond my KRAs and my compensation, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's how I will look at the three phases, is to finally be at a point where I can connect to a purpose and worry about legacy.
Okay, that's amazing advice, Pramila. Thanks for sharing, especially this thing around legitimacy versus legacy. I think that's a great point that all of us can ponder upon. The next question for you is: you spoke about the importance of mentors in your life. You just took a couple of names, and how they helped shape your career and your personal life. You also mentioned that the former president APJ Abdul Kalam has also impacted you on so many levels. So when you go looking for mentors, what kind of criteria do you apply, or how do you pick the mentors that you'd like to help you on your journey?
Mhm. Okay, so it'll be a little longish answer for this, but Uma, so first of all, uh, I think we should not outsource this responsibility of finding a mentor or being assigned a mentor to HR or anybody else. I think we will
Mm-hmm.
all, in a way, find our own mentors and seek the mentors. My
Right.
life, if I stop back and look at the mentors who've influenced me, who continue to influence me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, except for one mentoring relationship which was formal in my early years in Zenzar, everything else has been, mentors for me. I find them in my peers.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in in reverse mentoring. I find my mentors in my team, in
Mm-hmm.
my leaders, in my customers. So
Mm-hmm.
I have always, and many of these mentors don't even know they've been my mentor. So it's not a formal relationship where I've gone and shook hands and said, "Hey, can you please be my mentor?" So I have just noticed, observed,
Mm-hmm.
including Dr. Kalam and others, and what they do, how they, look at life, make their choices. I have imbibed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call two mentors out who have a big, contribution to, what I am today and how I look at life is Dr. Kalam. Again, he was never a
Mm-hmm.
formal mentor, but we worked with him. From him, I have learned two things: is how to continue to remain curious as a child. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone has known him till the day I think he lived, he always was curious. He always was
Mm-hmm.
hungry to understand things, to ask very, very naive, simple questions. Never the fear of saying, I'm the president or I'm the scientific advisor. I need to know everything. So that has stayed with me. In a way, I continue to, still thrive in the curiosity of that you see in a child, to
Mm-hmm.
keep asking, keep learning. And the second one that all of us who have not worked with him have seen him as known is humility. How
Mm-hmm.
humility is such a great strength for someone to remain grounded, to be connected with who he is and the purpose. So these are two things I have learned from him just by working directly, indirectly with him.
Mm-hmm.
The other mentor for me has been Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, who's been the CEO of Zenzar. And
Mm-hmm.
We kind of started our Zenzar journey together. 15 years, I've had the chance to work with him when I was still this young project manager who's joined Zenzar with a lot of, in my mid-career, like you say, the choice I was
Mm-hmm.
making. I think with him, I have learned how to, always try something new. Never have the fear of, what I say in my skydiving analogy, how to go and jump off the plane into
Mm-hmm.
something very different and learn something new. And it's the culture that I had a chance to play so many roles in Zensar. Each role made me a better person and a better professional. Is
Mm-hmm.
because we built that culture, and he was leading the organization where the organization took a bet on you, right? The
Mm-hmm.
organization always had your back when you were trying to experiment. And I would call that out both for the RPG group culture and Zens are very,
Mm-hmm.
very conducive when you really want to discover, what's the best version
Mm-hmm.
of yourself. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, for the message for mentors is do not wait for mentors to be assigned to you. So seek out your mentors. And like I believe it's very philosophical, but I'm saying when the student is ready, when the mentee is ready, the mentors will appear.
Right. That's a great story, Prameela. In fact, the aspect you mentioned around curiosity, right? It is so very important, irrespective of how much experience you have and how educated you are. That intention to keep learning and to be curious about new things actually helps us become better individuals, better leaders. So, thanks for sharing that. Um, let's move on to the next one. In July 2019, you were appointed as the CEO of Zensar Technologies. Can you give us some insights about the kind of things that you have done right to be in this position? And did you really aim to be a CEO? What were some ups and downs that you had to go through in order to reach this milestone?
Yeah. So maybe I don't know the exact year, but maybe 2000, around 2010, I knew I wanted to be to the CEO, because that's the phase probably I was discovering what do I want to be, what gives me, the
Mm-hmm.
joy, and I knew that I wanted to be the CEO because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, my strength is connecting people, process, business, customers,
Mm-hmm.
and strong bias for execution
Mm-hmm.
and organization, change management, taking an enterprise with you. So when I knew that, the first thing that I did is I went and talked about my ambition.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing what you want with the people who can help you make it is most important than trying to fight your battle alone. So two
Mm-hmm.
things. I went and talked to Dr. Ganesh saying, Ganesh, this is my aspiration. Went to
Mm-hmm.
the RPG group. Then we had the group HR head, Arvind
Mm-hmm.
Agarwal, and the chairman saying, I want this as my aspiration. I need you to tell me, all of you to tell me, what is the path from what I'm doing now to get to a CEO? What would you expect in a CEO? And so that I
Mm-hmm.
can work towards it. I
Mm-hmm.
went back and told my family, my husband and my two kids, saying, this is my aspiration. And then there'll be some choices I will make in my career, which will take me through that. So that's the first
Mm-hmm.
step, is to call it out to yourself first and then
Mm-hmm.
share it, make it a shared aspiration with people who can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to work. I did multiple roles, knowing that we are a technology company and I wanted to be the CEO of Zensar itself, not CEO of any company, because I love the
Right.
organization.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you technology company, there are four pillars. It is a people company. It is people, it's technology, and of course there is customers and business. And hence
Mm-hmm.
all the roles after that, where I moved from sales into HR, into delivery and strategy, were all roles I kept asking myself, will this role take me one step towards,
Mm-hmm.
where I want to be? And constantly recalibrating. So and not every role was a success. I think my sales role was not something that I would, very proud in terms of my balanced business scorecard. So naturally, that's not my sweet spot. But I
Mm-hmm.
have had to go through
Mm-hmm.
the role to really respect how do you as a CEO partner with your sales leaders. So I am that much more
Mm-hmm.
uh, confident now as a business partner because I've gone through the role. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
that is then working towards it, and you have to be willing to recalibrate your journey. You go on the road, you realize
Mm-hmm.
that okay, this is taking me away. I have to change the way I'm approaching, and there will be surprises. There will be, situations where you are not prepared for it, so you have to unlearn. So constantly, that beacon saying this is going to take me towards it,
Mm-hmm.
help me. And like I said, sharing it with
Mm-hmm.
family and with my stakeholders in the group.
Great. In fact, at the Star and Me, we keep talking about this concept called active career management. So, our belief is instead of being a bystander on your career journey and letting things happen to you, if you really want to succeed, you need to take the steering wheel in your hands and then drive the car to wherever it is that you want to go. So, everything that you said so far in terms of creating that vision for yourself as to what you want to do, talking to the people who could make that happen in terms of external stakeholders as well as personal stakeholders, and then taking those periodic steps, also taking corrective measures, watching where you're going, maybe making a detour as required. I think all these completely tie in with that principle. So great story, Prameela. Thanks for sharing that. That is really inspiring. Now we have a quick activity for you. We want you to guess who the lady is in the pictures that we will share. All these are very famous, accomplished women.
Okay, so now I will be pretty. I'm bad at this, maybe. Yeah.
No, let's give it a shot. Okay, this one's easy. It's just a sample. This is Whitney Houston, one
Okay.
of the famous
Yes, of
singers
course.
in the US. She
Yes.
passed away. Okay, now let's move on to the first one in our. Can you guess who the lady is in this picture? She's one of the most respected women in the business world, extremely humble, despite being
Is
extremely
that
accomplished.
Narayan Murthy? I don't know who I'm seeing uh,
Yeah,
in the
yeah, that's
picture,
right.
and Sudha.
Yes, yes, you're right. So
Yeah.
that's Sudha
Yes,
Murthy.
Sudha Murthy. Yes.
Okay, so you got the first one right. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so she's another extremely inspiring, high achieving woman leader, hails from India, as you might see, but she's made a name for herself in the global industry arena.
Oh wow! So now you're showing me pictures of some decades back.
She's recently published a book, a memoir of some kind of her career journey. She led one of the
Now,
largest beverage companies in the world, consumer goods beverage companies.
oh, is it Indra Nooyi?
Yes, yes, that's
Ah,
right.
okay. She looks so different now. So very difficult to relate to the picture.
That
Oh
is
God!
true.
Oh God! Lovely picture.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. There are two famous women here. One you might
That's Jay
guess.
Lalita, right?
Yes, yes, that's Jay
Yes.
Lalita. Can you guess who the other person is in the picture?
Wow.
She's another one who's doing amazing work in the Indian context. She's at um, in a very influential position.
Is she Nirmala Sitaraman?
Yes, yes, that's
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
you're on a roll. We
Okay.
have two more
Interesting.
to go. Okay, so she is in fact another famous personality who's recently taken on a senior role, not in India but elsewhere in the world, in one of the biggest, one of the most influential economies in the world.
Is she Kamala Harris?
Yes, yes, that's right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Hmm.
we just have the last one now to go.
Yeah.
She's one of the most celebrated entrepreneurs in India, women entrepreneurs in India. She built $1 billion empire starting from scratch. I won't tell you which industry because then it'll sort of give it away. But she
Hmm.
she's
Okay.
extremely inspiring on the entrepreneurial side. Okay, let me tell you which industry. She's in the biotech industry.
Biotech. She's not Kiran Majumdar Shah, no?
Yes, yes, it is.
Oh. Oh God. Okay.
You got all five right. That's amazing.
Nice. Nice. So,
Okay,
hmm.
let's move on to the next set of questions. So, Prameela, while we believe that a lot of leadership lessons and learnings are similar for any professional, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their demographics and so on. But if we were to ask you, what is a unique lesson that you learned, which is probably specific to women leaders, what would that be? Anything that women, as they get to leadership positions, that they should keep in mind?
Yeah, I think I would say not just when they get into leadership position. I think we are leaders even when we start the journey.
Hmm.
We don't become
Hmm.
leaders later. The leader in you helps you traverse
Hmm.
the path. There's one thing I would say is for all of us to believe that we are empowered. We have to empower ourselves and not to seek empowerment externally,
Hmm.
because sometimes we do have these conversations saying, okay, we should empower women. I don't think people need to empower us.
Hmm.
I think the realization that you are as empowered as you believe that you are empowered is the start of the journey to make your own choices, to live your choices, to take your own decisions. I would leave that one message with all of us to truly, truly believe that we are truly empowered to make, like I said, to what you want to do, and don't give away the right to empower to somebody else. Somebody else can be anybody, can be your family, can be your organization, can be men, can be anybody else. I think that's yours to keep, and that's will be with you all the time. That's the only message I will leave for all of us.
Okay, that's a great message, Pramila. The power lies within us, and it's the onus is on us to take charge. Thank you.
Right.
The next one, through the started me, one of the key things that we keep talking about and we believe very strongly is that, all of us need to upskill at any point in time, especially given the exponential pace of growth in the industry, the way the future of work is emerging across industries. We always need to keep learning. There is never a point when we can relax and say, okay, so now I've arrived in life and, I know whatever is supposed to be known. So, how did you how do you look at upskilling for yourself? So how do you ensure that you're continually growing and learning and so on? So what is your upskilling strategy?
So it has been different at different times in my life. The early on, I guess I just pushed myself to do so many different things and learned on the job.
Hmm.
DRDO, as a young engineer, missiles was something very different for me. And then when we started working on the cardiac pacemaker, I began my journey with the Nizam Institute of Medical Sciences in Hyderabad,
Okay.
working with the head of cardiology, and he taught me how to first, even roll an ECG strip.
Mm-hmm.
Right, my journey began from there to read the PQRS spikes in an
Uh-huh.
ECG and
Mm-hmm.
get into an operation theater, see how a pacemaker is implanted. My entire exposure then came back to become an entrepreneur. So earlier it was just push myself into roles where I will be required to learn something new and try multiple things. But after that, of course, you can't keep experimenting. You have to choose your
Right.
ground. And then it was the formal parts about, there are always certifications. I'm in the technology business. Every 2 months there is something new that you need to learn
Mm-hmm.
to stay relevant to your job and clients, which I do. But what has worked for me is actually I learn from my teams where I
Mm-hmm.
am today, because I there is so much opportunity around me to constantly ask my teams and learn. For example,
Mm-hmm.
right now I'm working with my CTO, who's part of my team, and he and I were dabbling with creating my avatar in metaverse.
Okay,
Right, I had
lovely.
so much fun getting into metaverse, doing a meeting with him in metaverse, choosing
Okay.
who I want to be, my hairstyle,
Right.
my
Uh-huh.
costume. Well, in the process, I'm learning a technology, but
Mm-hmm.
making it fun, but learning it from my team. So I guess that's how I approached it. But other thing also that works for me is I work very well against goals or targets. So I set something, then I go out and achieve them. So every year I make learning goals,
Mm-hmm.
and I stand up and declare my learning goals to my peers and to my teams. So there is the
Okay.
responsibility on me to actually, now that I've shared it, I have to make it
Right,
happen.
right.
So I hold myself accountable. So I always share whatever I'm learning with, whatever I'm
Mm-hmm.
setting out to learn with my teams. In a way, they will help me achieve my goals as well.
Right, right. Very interesting. And is there, on an ongoing basis, are there podcasts that you listen to? Are there people that you follow on YouTube, on social media to learn from them? Is there anything like that that you do?
Learning for me has been more hands-on and experimental.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned from my team. So I'll sit with my DevOps engineer and tell me, tell me the whole CI/CD tool set. What do you choose? Or with my CTO, now I'm learning, say, Metaverse. When we were doing RPA and automation, we got our
Mm-hmm.
automation practice head to do a master class for all of us. We went and created our own, bots to automate some of our day
Okay.
process. So to me, I
That's
always learn on the hand, but I learn because I have access to the teams here. I
nice,
actually
nice.
want to do and learn. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Thanks for sharing that. Um, so actually, it is good that of late we are seeing a lot of women choose technology as their professional area, and however, very few manage to make it to the top leadership positions. So, what advice would you give to women, especially in the technology space, as they chart their career journeys and aspire to get into senior leadership positions?
So technology as a stream is a difficult one because the shelf life of any technology is very, very short. So to be in this profession, you have to continue to work to stay relevant,
Mm-hmm.
constantly add a new skill, learn something new. It has to be a journey. We just can't say I've done my engineering, I've done my masters, I've landed my dream job in my dream organization. No, sorry. So I think if we are signed up for this stream, so we have to be aware that it is an ongoing journey.
Right.
I think that is extremely important, and the journey is not easy because, like I said, uh, for example, if you're some other functional roles, if you can say, okay, I've been recruiting, or I've been in accounting, I've been something else, so I can just come back after 5 years and start it again. Maybe the standards have changed,
Mm-hmm.
but the role remains the same. But in technology, it's very difficult. So my view is, remember that you have to stay relevant all the time and invest in yourself is one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is, it is okay to dial down now and then. Again,
Mm-hmm.
not go in this pursuit of every year has to be a rock star year for me that
Right.
I do everything else. It's okay if you are trying to do two things. And I would say it's work life integration. I would not use the word balance. Balance
Mm-hmm.
means choosing one over the other. To me, it's
Right.
integration. Sometimes, your personal life takes priority, other one you dial down, you dial up on that. So it is
Mm-hmm.
okay to dial down now and then, but also do remember that when you come back, you have to work a little extra to catch the
Mm-hmm.
be on the bandwagon again, because the wagon is moved. That's the
Right.
business logic.
True.
So
Mm-hmm.
I guess my view will be, and sign up for a lifetime of learning
Mm-hmm.
if you are in the
Okay.
technology space. Yeah.
Mhm. That is great advice, Prameela. Thanks for sharing. Now, here comes our last question. And as I ask that, everyone in the audience, do get ready. If you have any questions of your own, feel free to pose those. You have accomplished so much in your career journey so far, and your career is actually an inspiration to many professionals. What is next for you? What is like we through the Star in Me, one of our aspirations is to help all women professionals ignite their next big you. So what is Prameela's next big you, and how do you plan to get there?
So one is, I don't see myself slowing down. So
Mm-hmm.
as a person, as an individual or a professional, I think I'll keep running as long as I can run. The second thing is, to me, I'm at the stage, Uma, where I'm looking at legacy now and not legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
spent these years, proving to myself and others of what I can do as a professional. And the calling for me has been, if I look at the three P's that we all talk about: people, planets, and profits. I think
Mm-hmm.
so far the journey has been largely on profits and people. It's now
Uh-huh.
is a planet that really seems to be my calling, saying that as a
Mm-hmm.
professional, as an individual, as a citizen of the world, I think I
Mm-hmm.
have the accountability and the responsibility to make sure the future that we leave behind
Mm-hmm.
for the next generations to come is a future, is a planet that everybody else can enjoy like we did. So
Mm-hmm.
ESG, energy, social and governance, is the three environment, social and governance, the three elements of sustainable future is what we are focusing on. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
in Zensar, I'm very actively involved in working with the CFO and other teams on that area. So if that is my big U, is to make an impact in a positive way in a sustainable future that we all need to build together. So if you ask me, I mean, that's my
Mm-hmm.
next big U. So hopefully that's where I will get, and I'm finding out how can I make a difference as an individual. And I believe in this whole
Mm-hmm.
ikigai. So for me, the ikigai spot is this, where I take my professional experience,
Mhm.
Two is something that connects with a larger purpose, and the third, something that I enjoy doing. So my space seems to be sustainable development, and yeah, that's what I want to work on.
Okay, great. We have a couple more questions, sorry, a couple more minutes left, and there is a question that someone has asked. So, if Pramila, you could go back, let's say 10, 20 years back into your career and give the earlier version of you some advice as she traced her career path, what are some 3 to 5 pieces of advice that you would give the younger version of yourself?
So from where I stand and I look at it, so I guess I should have developed a very serious hobby, which somewhere
Mm-hmm.
I got lost so much in work. And while I've kept the curiosity in me alive, somewhere I think
Mm-hmm.
I let the child in me,
Okay.
go into a dormant state. I'm discovering that now.
Uh-huh.
At this stage, I'm beginning to develop. Running seems to be my new hobby. Fitness seems to be a hobby. So I think for many of us, we get stuck in this whole rigmarole of work and
Mhm.
home and priorities. Everybody else but you is a priority, and I
True.
had neglected my health and my fitness. So I think that is what I would have done differently if I go back and talk to the older Pramila. I mean the previous
Okay.
Pramila. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's a great message. In fact, that's another thing that I personally keep talking about. That all of us has a unique talent, a unique skill set that we possess. It is the onus is on us to identify what is that unique thing that differentiates us from everyone else in the world, probably, and spend time to hone that skill, whatever it could be. Maybe music,
Yeah.
art, fitness, like you said. That's a great suggestion. So everyone who's listening, do spend time to identify what is that unique characteristic of yours, and make time for yourself, make time for your hobbies, because apart from professional growth, this is a way to ensure that you lead a fulfilled life. So that brings us to the end of this show, Pramila. It was amazing having you here. Such high energy, positivity, optimism, and good to see that, after having achieved so much, you still have so many goals set for yourself. So thanks a ton for spending time with us today. Everyone who's been watching us, hope you took away a lot of valuable lessons from this show. This particular recording will be available on LinkedIn for a while, and we'll also put it up on the Star and Me platform. Amazing having all of you here. Thanks, Pramila, for your time.
Thank you, Uma, and delighted to be on this show and connect with all the people who are participating. By the way, I'll be glad. I mean, anything that you want to ask, you want to stay connected. I am on LinkedIn. In this digital world, it's not easy for us, not difficult for us to connect with each other. Glad to continue to interact with all of you beyond the show as well.
Thank you so much. So feel free to connect with Pramila on LinkedIn, follow her, message her, and continue to take lessons from her journey.
Yeah. So
Thank
one
you.
thing I want to add, Uma,
Mhm.
sorry, because
Mhm.
like I said, I always share my goal. To me,
Mhm.
the power is in sharing, and then the universe will give you the
Right, right.
energy. I'm
True.
sharing with everybody here.
Mhm.
My son, who lives in Canada and Toronto,
Mhm.
he also runs. So between him and me, we have a collective goal to together run 1,000 kilometers in the year. So we
Oh, wow.
both keep
That's amazing.
walking. So if I do 5 or 10K, then he does. We keep adding up. So for us,
Uh-huh.
that keeps both of us going as well. Again, I said, true to my belief, I'm sharing that with a larger audience
Uh-huh.
here because I know energy will come in terms of fulfilling that.
Right. All the best to you, Pramila. We'll check with you again towards December
Yes,
to see how you've done against this goal. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
Lovely
you.
having
Thank
you
you.
here.